Horizon gents, welcome to UX, and this is We found a loophole to survive the end of the universe by Charles Kurzgesagt in a nutshell. Yes, I know you'll be asking why is it so zoomed in? It's not zoomed in. I brought a fucking new lens. I don't know why. And look at the thing, right? Look at the aperture. It's yay big. Like damn, I didn't know like aperture can get that big. But it's insane, man. The sharpness and like the focus. You see how blurred out the background is? Damn, it's not even that far back, the wall. So yeah. This is gonna be interesting videos by Kurzgesagt. We found a loophole to survive the end of the universe. Yeah. I guess this is gonna be one of those theoretical videos where Kurzgesagt talks about how to survive, like when the light diminishes, how to use like black holes because that's the only thing that's gonna left to use energy. I don't know, but it's gonna be interesting. Let's do this one.
Can we survive the heat death of the universe? One day, the last star will die, galaxies will dissolve, and black holes will evaporate. The cosmos will become a forever expanding, empty void where nothing happens. Forever. A place without life, purpose, or meaning. Lame and depressing. But there might be a loophole in the laws of physics for a future civilization to survive the death of everything and go on having fun and internet arguments for Googles of years, maybe even forever. To explain how this works, we need to go through a few steps, so strap in if you want consciousness to live forever. How to outlast the stars. Let's travel 100 trillion years into the future when the last stars are about to die and the cosmos starts turning dark forever.
100 trillion years. Okay, so we are not even close to like something like a death of a black hole right now. Like that would be close to a Google year, which is like insanely high time compared to like 100 trillion years, which is not that much, right? There will be 100 trillions, like what? Power of 19 or something? Wait a minute. Oh, there you go. Yeah, so, yeah, okay, what was I saying? Yeah, it's about 100 trillion. Yeah, okay, so a million is 6 zeros, right? A billion is 9 zeros. Trillion is 12 zeros. 100 would be like 14 zeros. So we are talking about 100 zeros, right? Google here. So I don't know. I'm pretty sure until the black holes die, we could use black holes' energy to survive somehow. But yeah.
Here in this dying universe, we find the Noxans, the last civilization still alive. Compared to them, we're cave dwellers. They've solved physics and can do things we can only dream of. Still, the same rules of reality apply to them as to us. The Noxans like being alive and don't want to vanish with the last stars. So, they're enacting the plan to keep consciousness around forever. The first issue is energy. If you want to keep a civilization running, you need a lot of it. But actually, not that much in cosmic terms. With 5 hours of the full energy emitted by the sun, we could power present-day humanity for about 10 billion years. So the Noxans harvest the last...
Yeah, that's full, by the way. We can't harvest energy like that. But even with Dyson sphere, whatever we can take the energy would be like insanely high. Right now, if we put solar panels on the area equivalent to entire land mass of France, which is if you see the globe, you'll see that France is not that big. So at the equator, I think Sahara, right? Sahara Desert is at the equator. So if you put like, France's size part in Sahara, if you put solar panels there, you could literally power the entire planet. The problem comes is like how you're going to transport it, how you're going to like store it. Logistics is where the problem lies. In COVID, people wasted a lot of food, like milk and everything was like people just throwing away. You're like, okay, people are being hungry. Why can't you just give to them? Like how are you going to get to them? Logistics is one thing, which is always the issue. So it's not about like how we're going to extract the solar energy. We can't do that. How are you going to transport it? We don't have battery at that scale, which I think I think they're still working on. Originally, Elon Musk put a factory in like Australia trying to solve that. I don't know.
Our stars and build a gigantic complex of batteries around their home star. In principle, this energy could keep them alive for a few 100 trillion years, a long time, but not even close to forever. So now the hard part of the plan begins. The Noxans need to change the nature of life itself. Thoughts cold as ice. Being alive means doing things, eating, playing video games, and very importantly, thinking. And each of those things costs energy. But how much energy? There's an idea from a famous paper we'll mercilessly simplify and call Dyson's cold thoughts. In a nutshell, the idea is that the lower your temperature, the less energy it takes to do something. Your brain runs at a temperature of 310 degrees above absolute zero. Zero is the temperature where nothing can happen anymore. At 310 degrees, your brain needs 20 joules of energy to think a simple thought that takes 1 second to think, like, I should wear a funny hat. If your brain worked at colder temperatures, say 155 Kelvin instead of 310, a few things would change. First of all, you'd think at half the speed, and the same thought would now take 2 seconds. But in return, the energy you'd need to think the thought now halves from 20 joules to only 10. If Dyson's cold thoughts are correct,
Yeah, I guess it's about efficiency. I think I've heard about this. I don't exactly remember, but I think it's all about like if you're running hot, which means you're expending a lot of energy inefficiently, probably, because that's how you're getting hot, right? So yeah, you waste more energy trying to think something, right? Compared to not. So this is basically, I can think of like, obviously this is not accurate, but like, Fallout Robo Brain. So this is obviously like a future generation where they can just basically, like remove all the elements of the body while only keeping the brain, which is stupid. Like, why even keep the brain if you can manipulate at that level? Like, obviously, like some, what was that TV show? I forgot. Something, Altered Carbon, right? That was a show where they literally uploaded your consciousness or whatever. Okay, again, we don't know what the fuck is consciousness. But like, this is way far in the future. So when we figure it out, when we remove organic element all around, right? Yeah, we could like figure something out, like how to use energy. Right now we can say like, oh, we use this amount of energy to have a thought and everything, and we can just use the last stars and whatever. But yeah, we need organic food and then turn that into energy that we can use as a thought. We need to figure out we need to be like solar powered first of all. And I don't think organically we can do that. So we need to change, like, basically that way. Like, it will start with cybernetics probably in the future. Yeah, we'll probably get to that point.
then the colder you go, the less energy you need to think a thought. At 1/10 your current temperature, the same thought would take 10 seconds but only require 2 joules. And this has wild implications, because it means that we actually might be able to play this game forever. How could this work in reality? Cooling down a living organism isn't easy. If we put you in a fridge, you'll die from hypothermia. The reality is that this plan will be impossible to do with flesh and blood, so the Noxons have to take a huge step. Before we cool anything down, consider this. Maybe the real trick is stepping back and seeing ideas from different perspectives, because even with more efficient brains, we're still prone to the same biases we face today. Nothing highlights this issue more than our modern media landscape. Thankfully, Ground News, the sponsor of this video, is working to confront these issues.
Yeah, people, go to original video page and from there support this channel.
They're a website and app designed to help you back to cooling brains. They have to leave biology behind and transfer their minds into some kind of artificial brain. Or even better, become completely virtual minds and build a digital world as good or better than the real one. This is getting pretty sci-fi, so to be fair, we don't know how to build such brains or computers.
Yeah, I understand the element, because there could be some, like, if you slow down your metabolism and then if you like expand, you get colder and colder, which is like less energy. Heat is kind of the same thing. So if you become more efficient, waste less energy and use very little energy, you slow down that way. Yeah, like you could experience time slowly, like if you slow down at atomic level. Because in the end of the day, this is what I think. Time is basically our atomic processes, which all atomic processes are the same, where we are based on gravity. So we all experience same time, and gravity affects these atomic processes, right? Electron moving and basically things like that. So gravity changes that. That's what time is. That's why like time speeds up and slow down. So if we can slow that down, right, it would take a long ass time for us to do anything, but we would not experience it that way. Like a year would pass the way an hour passes or something like that, or a minute passes based on anything, right? And we would use much and much less energy to do that. So like, like quadrillion, quintillion, like God knows how many years passes, and that would feel like a year to us or something.
Computers, But remember, we are 100 trillion years in the future, the Noxans are desperate, and the laws of physics should allow this. So now we have a pretty big battery with a huge but finite amount of energy, and a lot of brains or a computer that can cool down. Okay, this is great and all, but how do you stay around with limited energy forever? Well, this is at the core of the plan. Each time the Noxans get colder, they need less energy to stay alive. Sure, they'll be slower, but this isn't relevant to them. So from the Noxans' perspective, as long as they can keep getting colder fast enough, their battery's energy is growing proportionally and could keep them alive forever. Let's see how their plan unfolds. Cooling down. As the last star in the universe goes out and the universe turns dark forever, the Noxans activate their batteries and start cooling down their brains. The way they do it is extremely simple. How do you cool down a light bulb? Well, you unplug it so it can radiate away its heat. So the Noxans switch off their brains and start to hibernate. They enter a state with no activity, thoughts, or even dreams, and let their bodies radiate heat away to cool down a bit. When they activate again after some time, they're now colder than before. They think slower, and each thought uses up less energy from their battery. They enter into a new cycle of cosmic days and cosmic nights. During the days, they're alive and awake, doing all the stuff they want to do.
Yeah, I don't know about hibernation, man. Completely stopping you as a being where you don't, use energy. This is like this, like Star Trek thing where they like beam you somewhere atomically, right? We don't know what consciousness is. So this is all way too far off, because any changes in that, our knowledge in that, could offset all of this. So we are this video is relying on a lot of things that we already don't know. If this means this, then this must mean this. This is how we are working right now. We don't know what consciousness is. So we don't know if we go to hibernation, let's just say, which is completely shutting off, using literally no energy, and then coming back consciously, would we be the same? Or this is a new being who feels and acts the same way the previous one was? Or, like, I'm not the one who's feeling it. I died. Whatever this thing is, which replaced who I was, is feeling the same way, thinking it's me, but it's not really me. It's very trippy and weird way of thinking, but like, we don't know what consciousness is. That's the problem, right? So this is like, I don't know about hibernation. I like the concept of like slowing down metabolism, slowing down everything, using very little energy.
Hanging out with friends, thinking about things, eating virtual cheeseburgers, simulating universes, whatever Type 3 civilizations think fun is in the future. And during the night, they're switched off, lost in dreamless non-existence, not even noticing anything isn't happening, while cooling down their brains even more.
Another element is that we are thinking as an ape brain species right now. Everything we do, feel, and whatever is like molded by our ancestors, apes basically, survival things. Our drives are based on survival. That is what drive is, so we don't die out. Everything is based on that. I can imagine the future where we genetically changes things so much that we don't require motivation. We don't require feeling good. We don't require endorphins and things like that. We also don't get depressed. We also don't get sad. We don't need something to do. This is a very weird future when you really think about it. It just becomes like, what's the point of anything? But that dread that you feel as soon as you think that, it's not going to exist because we surgically removed it. We can just be. We can eat, we can do, like, we don't need to do anything to feel anything, right? The whole epidemic of things that Kozgazar has been talking about in the past, let's just say, the whole epidemic exists because people want to feel good and suppress all those feelings, all those drives and all that depression. If we remove all that, like, that is what humans want, right? So I can see the future where, like, fun, what is fun? Do we even experience fun anymore? Do we need to experience fun anymore? Because it's all yin and yang. If you don't experience fun, then the opposite effect happens. We get depressed. But if you remove both of them, do we care?
Beginning, the nights will be very short and the days extremely long. A day can last 1 million years, while night is only a few hours. But warm things shed heat much faster than cold ones. Cooling from 300 to 299 degrees takes much less time than going from 100 to 99. So, as the Noxan brains become colder, the nights will have to grow longer and longer. So, how long could they actually do this, and how is this a way to live forever? How long could the Noxans actually do this? The reason Dyson's cold thoughts are so incredibly powerful is how incredibly they scale. As
The
eons
exponents,
pass
right?
in the dying universe, the Noxons keep cooling down and waking up. After 100 trillion years of this cycle, their temperature has only dropped 230 degrees above absolute zero. A simple thought now takes 1.3 seconds instead of 1. Each cosmic night is now 400,000 years long. But even accounting for their slower speeds and long hibernations, the Noxons have experienced the equivalent of 76 trillion years of life. Over 5,000 times the age of the current universe. This is frankly just an unsafe.
Another awesome point that people really don't think about, but our universe is new. 13 billion, that's like nothing. That's like a month-old baby. Based on how much stars going to live on and how much black holes are going to live on. I guess before any catastrophe happens, whatever. There's many ways universe can end, theoretically at least right now. But yeah, even with that, even with the quickest way we can die. No, not the quickest way is like any time now. It could boof any time now. But ignoring that, like time-wise, the quickest death of the universe is like much far off. So 13 billion is nothing, right?
Settling idea. What is way scarier than being dead? Being alive forever. So we need to detach ourselves a little bit. We simply have no concept how conscious beings would deal with the opportunity to actually live that long. Maybe
Yeah, but I just said that. Like, I'm pretty sure we'll genetically remove all the ape shit we have right now. All the like Serengeti that we still have are inside of us, survival instinct and all that. Genetical manipulation will come much sooner than people realize. So before we reach even this point, like we'll remove a lot of elements that makes us who we are in this way. Like we need to do something. We can't get bored. There is such thing as bored. There is such thing as being sad or happy or depression. We could surgically remove all this shit. That's what it is. Like drugs are coming up right now with very, very little side effects. Like that is just insane to me. This is already like we are figuring shit out, right? So 100 years from now on, we'll be able to like surgically like alter genetically, DNA and everything, and change how we are. So there is so much small things in human, like will take much longer time to figure all of that out, but not 100 trillion. So by this point, we must be at the level like what is sad, what is happy. Like I don't need anything. You think that, but what about you think? Remember, there is no drive needed. And if there is no drive needed, we don't need to be happy. We don't need to feel accomplished. We don't need to be excited or anything because everything's removed. All those like this were all molded as ape ancestors because we needed all this to survive. If we don't feel accomplished, we don't do things. If we don't do things, the tribe doesn't move forward and might die out by lion attack or something. I don't know, right? So all of this happy, good, this all just is like a guiding tactics. We don't need that shit anymore. And not now, in the future, 100 trillion years from now, we're not going to need this.
Our Noxons delete their memories regularly. Maybe they create new worlds and new life. Maybe at some point they decide to sleep forever. Maybe they just activate their pleasure centers and experience perfect bliss forever. As time keeps passing and the Noxons keep going through.
But why? That's the thing. Why? Why would you need bliss if the opposite doesn't exist? If you remove dread, do you really need bliss? If you remove the negative, you don't need positive. You don't need that spring effect. You can just be at the center. If you be at the center, you're not going to feel dread because whatever mechanism that makes you feel dread, like there's something wrong here, would get removed. All your diseases, OCDs, all the mental illness, all the spectrum and things would be removed. You don't need to feel bliss, do you? I mean, you can do that, but you're not going to need it. That's the main point.
Through their cycle of day and night and cooling down, the universe keeps dying. After quadrillions of years, the corpses of former stars, white dwarfs, turn yellow, then orange, then red, then black. Trillions of years later, all galaxies have dissolved like dandelions. Decillions of years later, the first black holes evaporate in bursts of light like sad fireworks. And the Noxons, they're still around, at a chilling 10 quintillionths degree above zero. They've become so slow that a simple thought takes 1 trillion years. They spend 99.99999999999999997% of the time hibernating. But for them, nothing's changed. Their conscious experience is just as fluid and vibrant as on the first day. From the outside, they live in slow motion. As they get colder and colder, their thoughts got slower and slower. But if you and the world around you slow down at the same pace, you don't notice anything. Your conversations, thoughts, adventures, and experiences feel exactly the same as before. And while the cosmic nights are now a quatuor-decillion years long, it doesn't matter to them, because during the nights, the Noxans don't experience anything. So, no matter how long the nights are, they pass in an instant. The Noxans experience a perfectly fluid existence. Only that with each night, they use up even less energy than before. At this point, they've lived, felt, and experienced the equivalent of 4,000 trillion years. Their battery has only a tiny fraction of its original charge, but the Noxans now need so little energy that it seems larger than ever before. True eternity has just begun. Or has it? Can the Noxans actually live forever? Whether Dyson's cold thoughts can make you live forever depends on one thing. Can you keep cooling forever, or does the universe force you to hit a true limit? There are a few problems. Dark energy might eventually make the universe hit a temperature limit of 1/9,000,000th degrees above absolute zero. The Noxans will cool to that level after a googol years, but then they can't cool any further and their battery will begin to run out. And after this much time, the universe will make going on impossible in other weird ways. Quantum noise might just destroy their brains. All matter may decay into iron, or proton decay may destroy.
I didn't even thought of that. Yeah, at that scale, at that smallness of need of energy, yeah, like quantum would be like, yeah. We're entering a territory that we didn't think of before. But then again, we would probably figure that shit out. But that's the thing. Even figuring shit out doesn't mean anything. Like, doesn't mean you can prevent it. So yeah, quantum level might be a problem now. Like, how energy reacts at that scale, right? At that temperature, like everything becomes a problem, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure like the more close to the absolute zero you get, matter become very weird, very fluid in a certain way. Like you can mold it by just grabbing it and things like that. Like things doesn't function like this is not linear. Like we can't just get colder and colder and like whatever we are we some kind of like robotic, electric, are we in the like internet based on like some kind of like circuitry, what we are, right? That element itself might not function properly, right? This is fucked up, man. Like, but then again, like if you lived that long, like do you care? There must be a point which is like, yeah, this you can't go past this, doesn't matter what you do, right? Like certain part of me thinks there is a scientific point. This is way too far we're looking at, but there's a certain point much before this that we'll hit a wall as a species where we can actually discover something. We might be just stupid enough not to discover something. People are banking on AI, but like AI is made by us. Like, is that gonna really work? Like, I guess we'll have to see it. But yeah, this is just insane. Like, this might happen, let's just say.
All atoms. We don't know. Forever is a long time. But even if the Noxans don't get a true forever, if Dyson's cold thoughts work, then within these googol years, their consciousness would experience the equivalent of 2 trillion years. This may all seem far-fetched and hard to imagine, but the amazing thing about it is that for all we know, the laws of physics don't forbid life to adapt even to a completely dead universe. And it would mean that life and consciousness aren't a brief accident in cosmic history, but the final chapter of existence itself, giving the universe meaning, purpose, and hope. Maybe forever. Here is your special connection.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not cynical, I guess, but I don't see humans going this far. I don't know. Yeah, but this is probably possible. Like, I can see we becoming like spreading out and becoming multi-planetary species, like multi-stellar species. I don't know. And maybe just one of them surviving long enough or not be stupid enough somehow. But I don't know. I like this temperature talk, right? because people think about like what if we take a time machine and like go in the past. This temperature thing makes me think like there was a point in the past where like temperature of the like universe was hot enough that you can't think, because even your thought generates certain amount of heat, and that heat needs to dissipate. And if the environment around you is hot enough, you can't dissipate, so you can't physically think. I know we would reach a much bigger problem before that, like not being comfortable where you are and like having physical issue before your thought is an issue. But let's just ignore all that and think like you can't physically think, right? There was a temperature like that. So yeah, temperature can go many way. Like is like just energy expenditure that's enough for a thought? Because that's what this is thinking. Is that enough for a thought, or we would like come across another issue? Like like if you like keep cooling down at the level, you can't physically think or do any process even with the slow time. Like, we don't know what would manifest, right? But yeah, this is an interesting thought process though. Right, well, that was, we found a loophole so to survive the end of the universe. But because in a nutshell, I like to think like we might be able to, if this is how the universe would end, we might be able to like save it, or at least like extend it, by like forcing matters, like making like artificial stars and things like that, slowing down decay and things somehow. It might not stop it, but it would slow down immensely. But yeah, right, I'll see you next time.